Monsieur Blais, qu'est-ce qui vous fait dire qu'à lui seul, le fonds sera suffisant pour inciter les compagnies à offrir le service haute vitesse partout au pays?
Par le passé, il y a eu des fonds par divers niveaux de gouvernement et dans tous les cas, il y a la demande pour avoir accès à ces fonds a été largement plus grande que la disponibilité d'argent à l'appui. Donc on est très certain que ce fonds, avec les intérêts privés et publics de d'autres niveaux de gouvernement, seront suffisants pour améliorer la connectivité des Canadiens.
Michel Lamarche, TVA.
M. Blais, qu'est-ce qui vous fait dire que la facture ne sera pas refilée aux consommateurs puisque les fournisseurs devront eux-mêmes contribuer à ce fonds?
Alors, le fonds, le CRTC depuis 20 ans a un fonds de contribution qui existe déjà, d'à peu près à l'heure actuelle 100 millions de dollars. Et ce que nous faisons avec cette décision, c'est de réorienter le fonds, les montants qui sont de 100 millions, pour aller vers la large bande plutôt que l'ancien système qui était dirigé au système pour les districts de voix, pour la téléphonie locale dans des endroits à haut coût. Donc en faisant le transfert, l'argent est déjà comptabilisé en large partie dans les factures des abonnés aujourd'hui.
Mais il n'y a pas de garantie?
Dans quel sens? Il y a la concurrence qui a toujours fait en sorte que les tarifs, il y a une pression vers la baisse. Et évidemment, le CRTC a aussi mis en place des mesures au niveau des services en gros pour assurer plus une grande concurrence. Et d'ailleurs, même cette semaine, on a vu des baisses de prix significatives pour la large bande par Texas.
Now, Tom Perry from CBC Radio.
Mr. Blais, you've got companies, you're asking companies to pay into this fund. What's to say they're not going to pass that cost on to consumers? Can you say that cable bills, internet bills are not going to go up because of this?
Well, as I was explaining in French a moment ago, the CRTC for the past 20 years has had a contribution fund to subsidize high-cost telephony, voice services. It's about $100 million now. What the CRTC is announcing today is because communications has changed, we're shifting away from voice subsidy towards broadband subsidy. So the amount is already embedded in the cost structure of the contribution regime that exists. It's just going to be shifted towards broadband access.
But is it not going up?
Over time, the amount will go up 100 to 125, but the base on which it's calculated will expand to include ISPs and texting of the service providers already in place in the marketplace.
Now, Terry Midwell from Canadian Press.
Mr. Chairman, just wondering, why haven't you put a cap on prices, for monthly prices for internet services under this regime, similar to what you've done with the basic TV service?
Right. Some parties made that argument at the proceeding. The Commission on the telephony side has always put a lot of emphasis on using, first and foremost, market forces to control prices. And we've even seen this week that our access rules for wholesale access has had a very positive impact, where tech-savvy has significantly lowered its retail prices. So we rely on market competition and a little bit more intervention, not at the retail level, but at the wholesale level, which then trickles down to the retailers.
And can you explain why you talk about targets rather than enforcing the production of the services?
This amount of money, which could be up to $750 million over the next 5 years, is quite an important carrot. And I think we're quite confident, we've seen it in other government programs in the past, that parties have every interest in wanting to meet these targets by having access to these funds. Let's not forget that 82% of Canadians already have access at these levels. So what this fund is to bring those other Canadians who are being left behind to also have the equivalent targets that are commonplace in larger sectors.
Kevin Gallagher from CTV News.
Mr. Blais, can you tell us why that decision was reached for the targets of the megabits per second, the downloads and the uploads, why 50 and 10? What will this mean for Canadians that don't have access to that, and how many don't have access?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, about 82% of Canadians have access at those speeds currently. But a lot of people are being left behind. So this is important for Canada's competitiveness with other nations. And keep in mind that countries like Australia have speeds of 25 as targets. European Union 30. We have targets of 50 in Germany. So there are comparables we're looking at, so that's important. But for individual Canadians, yes, it means that maybe they'll have access to faster entertainment. But for the people in the gap, those that aren't having currently, those that are part of the 82%, will be able to, for instance, upload, not at night, but during the daytime, security patches that might put at risk their security. A small business operator in a rural point will be able to communicate with their clients and suppliers in Canada and across the world and keep jobs in those regions. This is about making sure that even a bed and breakfast operator can have a more resilient website that attracts tourism to all parts of this country, and that people have a pleasant experience and they don't find that when they go to these beautiful places we have in Canada, there is no connectivity. So it helps every aspect, as our ability to do e-health, e-government, to be more safe as we travel our roads. So there's a lot of impact that it will have on the daily lives of Canadians, but also on the general economy of Canada.
Sans vous demander de tout répéter ça, Monsieur Blais, peut-être en gros, qu'est-ce que ça va permettre?
Bien, essentiellement pour le pays dans son ensemble, on ajoute à notre productivité, notre compétitivité par rapport à nos partenaires à l'étranger, mais pour les individus qui, parce qu'à l'heure actuelle, il y a à peu près 82% de la population qui ont déjà des débits de la vitesse de 50 et 10, mais pour ceux qui sont laissés pour compte, ils auront accès, possiblement, comme un entrepreneur en région, en Gaspésie par exemple, qui pourrait avoir accès alors à des téléchargements qui permettra de compétitionner avec d'autres entreprises ailleurs en Allemagne ou en Belgique, parce que eux, ils vont pouvoir l'offrir. Ça va vouloir dire qu'un propriétaire d'un gîte, je ne sais pas, dans le canton de l'Est, pourra avoir un site web riche en contenu qui pourra en plus attirer des touristes un peu partout dans le monde, parce qu'ils vont avoir la connectivité auxquelles ils s'attendent partout quand ils visitent les meilleures parties du pays. Donc ça ajoute à la sécurité des Canadiens, à leur possibilité de connecter avec le gouvernement sur une base en ligne, la santé en ligne, plusieurs aspects. Donc c'est vraiment pour la qualité de vie des Canadiens et de notre économie en général.
One follow-up to
Mr. Blake, why are there no measures to improve the affordability of these services? That's my understanding. It's to help the rural infrastructure improve this fund, but nothing to help those low-income Canadians that have a difficult time affording the speeds of internet you're talking about.
There are, as I mentioned in my remarks, there are parties, and I think they should be pointed out. For instance, TELUS Internet for Good and Rogers Connected for Success have come up and stepped up as social obligations to help the lowest income Canadians. We have made some findings with respect to what we heard on the record, and we shared that with Minister Baines in the report we sent to him. So what we're saying is we're going to try to work with others on a multifaceted approach to see what we can do with affordability. The Commission's approach to affordability has always been through market forces, to make sure that we have enough competitors, we have informed consumers that are working in a dynamic marketplace. And if that, as a first step, does not work, then we'll intervene with a regulatory process. But right now, we hear Minister Baines has this clearly on his agenda. We have companies stepping up, some of them, not all of them, to help the lowest income Canadians be part of the digital economy. And for now, that's what we're going with.
I'm going to take one or two questions from people that are over the phone. I think we're good here. So anyone over the phone line would like to ask a question, Mr. Black?
Not so much.
Excellent. So thank you very much for being here. I think we're now finished with the news conference. If you have any follow-up questions, please send me an email, and I will do my best to respond to them.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.